And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Sohail, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek today. I'm excited to be talking about Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 2, Wedding Bell Blues, which I put with a lowercase w in the banner. And I'm once again joined by my fabulous friend, Marcelo. How are you, Marcelo?
I'm great. Happy to be here once again.
I'm so glad you could join me. I see you're wearing a Starfleet medical shirt there.
Oh yeah, I picked this up
Or hoodie.
just last year. Yeah, I picked this up just last year on StarTrek.com. It's a great shirt. It's very comfy, very cozy.
Very cool, very cool. I guess that factors in a
Yep.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It does. It does. Because anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Chapel fan. So I just had to support.
I love it. Uh, before we talk about this episode, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I'm so happy we're doing these pre-recorded. By the way, this is pre-recorded. It's quite pre-recorded, so I don't know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen between now and when this airs. uh, we hope to return to live broadcast soon, but in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying these, audience. And there will be a live chat, of course. So future me is probably in the chat. I don't know if future Marcelo is in the chat, but maybe future Marcelo is in the chat too. Say hello if you guys are.
Yeah. Yeah. Just have what when I pre-record videos like eons in advance, I'm never in the chat, guys, but he will be. So
Do you have anything to say to future you?
I will just say this. I would just say be kinder be kinder to Roger Corby because I still don't like that guy. So be kinder to Roger Corby.
Roger Corby kind of starts out, we might as well get right into the discussion before we do a quick little whatchamacallit summary. But this episode does introduce or reintroduce the character of Roger Corby, uh, a little different than what we remember him when he was introduced in TOS. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I think Android Roger was definitely a douche, and maybe now we're seeing why that might be the case. But is he lovable? I think at the end of the day, he's trying. We'll see. I don't know.
Uh,
We'll see. He might be a lovable
Idiot.
misguided idiot.
Idiot.
He's actually not an idiot. He's very smart, as we
No,
know, and
yes,
Roger
I know,
Corby's
I know,
highly
I know.
respected. But I know what
I
you
know,
mean.
but
I know what you
I
mean.
just
Well, let's
yeah.
do a quick summary. Do you want to take this one on, just and I'll help you out, or you want to try?
Uh
Because you
okay, no,
really
no,
enjoyed this
well,
episode,
yeah, okay, okay,
and maybe you'll do it a
okay.
lot shorter than me. I take like
No,
20
no,
years
no,
to do.
no. I will. I know. I will just watch. In this
Okay.
episode, the crew is celebrating the 100th year centennial of Starfleet by holding this massive gala, and some weird stuff happens leading up to the gala. So that's just a summary. Really short.
That's really good. And the weird stuff is that a Q apparently, and we'll talk more about that. A Q, a baby Q, comes aboard and makes a little mischief, deciding that to grant Spock a wish, and his wish was that he wished everything was a little different between he and Christine, and so he wakes up the next day and to find that he's actually getting married to her, and Roger Corby seems to be the only person, funny enough, who knows what's going on until he figures out. Well, he doesn't do it on purpose, but until he wakes Spock or snaps Spock out of it, and then it's their job to snap the rest of the crew out of it, and they're not successful. And I think this is a hilarious, lighthearted episode. I really, really, really think it was a good idea to go from the heavy, Gorn two-parter right into this like lighthearted kind of fun little caper mystery slash wedding shenanigans. Lots to discuss. Let's talk about the opening with the Enterprise being repaired and everything. I thought it was cool to see such an active, because of the Federation's founding, the 100th year, by the way. So it's 100 years since the end of Enterprise, right? Isn't that at the end of Enterprise they found the Federation? Is that, I can't remember. Like, so much
Yeah, that's
Star Trek
right.
in this brain. it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
too
yeah.
much. It's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
yeah, yeah. Brain overloaded. Can't. That's too much information. Yeah. At yeah, at the end of Enterprise, they do find the Federation. Archer
I
comes
couldn't
out and
remember if that was like, I have
yeah.
to watch the show again because I have such terrible memory anyways, but like I couldn't remember if that was at the end or like a few episodes before the end. I
No,
just
no,
kind of
that was
remember
no,
that it was
no.
like
That
the
was at
ending. Yeah.
the. That was at. That was. Oh oh wait a minute. Oh shit, you're right. No wait, that was at the end. You're right. Yeah, because Riker
Yes,
has the
okay. Yeah, and then they do
yeah.
the, yeah, okay. So anyways, interestingly though, T'Pol could still be around, so I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get T'Pol at the 100th Federation founding, but it's all right. Well, there's probably opportunities abound. We got her in Star Trek Lower Decks, which was very exciting. We
Yeah,
could talk
and that was really unexpected, by the way, too.
about.
Nobody thought that was gonna
Mhm.
happen.
But anyways, so that Spock's just like super giddy and really excited to see Christine again. He's taking dance lessons from Leon. He's like, he's got a present for her, a book, and it's it's really cute actually. But then we go to the transporter room and Christine, I love the way that the episode was kind of like framed and directed, like in this part, like Christine beams aboard, we only see her, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, and here's Roger. Dr. Corby is my date was the the thing. They've come back for the Federation centennial, and she's brought her date, Roger Corby, and Spock's just like so disappointed. Corby, I love the gags, like Corby's like excited about the book, and Spock has to like pry it out of his hands. He's like, "This is a gift for Christine." It's like, it's so sad and embarrassing. What'd you think of that opening?
I absolutely love the opening to this episode. Um I love the dancing sequences between Spock and Laan. I seeing them dance together really gave me shades of Data and Dr. Crusher.
Yeah,
But
totally reminded me of that
Laan,
too.
yeah, Laan looks so beautiful in this episode. Chapel looks so beautiful in this episode. But the thing that really sold me on this episode, at least from the jump, is how uncomfortably giddy Spock was to see Christine. And then, like you said, the way that the episode was directed, we see Christine first, and then the camera just pans over to see that waste of space. Corby, I don't like that guy. I still don't like him. I never will like him.
I thought it was cute that Uhura's like, "Hey, you told me to let you know, give you a little warning, a little heads up when she was beaming aboard. Well, here you go," because she's like, she would know because she would get the communications request for it.
Right, right.
Um, and I like the little setups, like Scotty, confused about the anomaly. Like he notices just for a second there's like an anomaly off the Enterprise, and they're like, I don't
Mm.
know, it's just like really beautifully directed. I like also, we'll talk about him, but they give Scotty a few moments that are just hilarious in this episode
Yep.
as well. Um, moving on from that, we get uh, Ensign or I mean, sorry, Lieutenant Ortega's Erica, and we meet her little brother. I forgot his name at the moment. What was his name? Did you catch it?
I did
I think
not
it starts
catch it.
with a
He's
B.
yeah.
Ooh.
I forgot his
Someone
name.
in the audience let us know, even though we can't hear you. It'll
Uh,
be nice to know in the chat. Um,
So,
but we
so,
meet the
so,
baby brother, and he's a filmmaker, which is pretty cool. So he's like making some kind of film, about his sister and stuff like that. They're also sparring, which is kind of cool. And Uhura walks in, and it looks like there's some sparks flying between the two of them, and I thought that was pretty. This whole episode has a lot of like little romantic things
yeah.
too, because we also get Captain Batal. and Pike, so it's a very romantic kind of episode. What'd you think?
I love that about this episode because I really think the romantic side of Star Trek as a whole, and that includes Berman Star Trek and 60 Star Trek. I think the romantic side of Star Trek has been, vastly sort of underplayed. So it was really cool to see this romantic episode and to see all the romantic pairings that the writers put in the episode. I loved Pike and uh, 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 Captain Patel. Their whole interaction in his quarters was
That's very
delightful.
cute.
Yeah, um, with,
What do
with
you think? What ship do you think she's gonna pick? Do you think it's gonna be Farragut, or as is being speculated online, or do you think something else?
um, I I keep forgetting that her ship was destroyed. So
Yeah,
I definitely think that she's gonna pick the Farragut is a good choice. But you know what?
that would make Kirk her first officer.
That's true.
It would
But
be cruel.
you know what? I don't think she's gonna pick any ship at all. I think that she might stay on the Enterprise a little bit. I think she
As
might stay
Pike
on the
wants her
Enterprise a little bit
to.
longer. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, she's
yeah.
certainly still healing, I guess, which is also good news, by the way. Speaking of healing, we get the scene with her getting well, not her, but number one's giving more blood, and we get a report on Batel that her body's completely reabsorbed the
Ugh,
Gorn babies, which is so gross. Can
that's gross.
you?
Uh, uh,
But yeah, so it looked like it was a success, and we meet the new medical ensign, who uh who's really perky and exciting. I like it. He's really cool. uh
yeah,
I like his character. It looks like we're getting a few introductions in this episode. Actually, we got him. We've got uh well, Corby,
or
obviously, but
uh,
it looks like, just like a few extra people. Oh, Ortega's brother, and then the Edosian bartender
the bartender.
at the end, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, this episode also did a good job, I think, of introducing these characters. I hope they're going to be around the whole season.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I really really did enjoy the way that this episode handled drama with Chapel and Spock, but it also injected a healthy dose of humor that I thought even this episode out very very well. Meeting all the sort of new characters I think was interesting, but I like you, I hope that they don't get sidelined in the next episode. I do hope that we get to see more of them as the season goes along.
I think they're going to be like guest stars, like not like main. Who knows? I don't know how they're going to
Right.
handle them. But I like
Right.
them all. They're all really, really interesting new characters. I mean, Corby, I like the
Mm.
actor. I think he's doing a good job. I think it's great that they went in a totally different direction. But how do you reconcile? I like the actor that they chose and everything, and I think Roger Corby. It doesn't really matter that they didn't like kind of pick someone to be the same with the same accent as the TOS one. We already have had enough, indicate. Star Trek has already shown us that like those things don't matter when viewing the show. Like it doesn't mean that we're in a different content. I know a lot of people might be like, "Oh, this means we're in a different continuity or whatever." It doesn't really mean that. It's just something Star Trek likes to do now. We understand. But what do you think if you did have to reconcile this new Irish accent Corby with the New York accent Corby that we get later on? Or I guess I mean, they're both Atlantic accents, I guess you could say, like, but how would you reconcile it in your brain if you had to? And audience, feel
Yeah.
free to chime in as well. Did you like
Well,
it or
well,
not? And how would
yeah.
you reconcile it?
Well, you know what? I don't have to reconcile it at all in my brain because I'm completely okay with it. Like you said, there's a lot of things in Star Trek that kind of match up, but don't really match up because of circumstances. And I think that this is just one of those. this is just one of those circumstances. If they wanted to reintroduce Corby again, they were going to have to choose somebody a lot, around Chapel's age group. If they pick somebody older, it would look kind of sus, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know if it would look sus. I think that's, by the original series, their age difference is probably no more than like 5 to 8 years. Corby and
Right, right.
Chapel don't look
It's not
that
that bad.
far apart, and they're
Right,
both, at this point, Chapel might be like in her 20s or something like that.
right, right.
Um, Maybe she's in her 30s by the time. So Corby might just be like 25 or maybe 28, early
Right,
20s, late
right.
20s. I think that's the only difference between them. So I
As
don't think
you
there's
know,
anything sus per se. I just think, to me, the biggest difference, it's
is his
just funny that
accent.
his accent would change. That's the
Yeah,
funniest thing,
yeah.
to me. But it happens.
But
Like, Madonna's accent changed when she moved to England. So, it could happen.
that is true. But just a small little note. Um, I his accent makes me just want to hit him. He just looks like a to me like like folks. I've never liked Roger Corby. He's always been annoying to me, and his accent just makes me want to hit
Why
him.
doesn't why does an Irish accent make him more annoying? I
No,
do
but
like that they didn't make the Irish. I do like that the actor kept his like natural Irish accent and didn't do like an exaggerated one like the character in Section 31.
oh god, that was
That didn't
awful.
go that didn't go well with the Irish community because it's a cartoony kind of accent, and
Right, right.
I don't think it's representative of the whole of Ireland. It's very specific accent. So I like that they kind of let him just do his regular accent, which was cool.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
I appreciated that. I appreciated that he didn't do an over the top accent either. I appreciated that he kept it nice and level.
so I guess that answers the question about like whether we care about accents matching up between characters or not, and stuff
Yeah,
like that. We
yeah.
don't.
I
I don't
don't
know
care.
if you guys do, but it's okay. It's valid either way. Like I get it. Some people are very purists. They want everything to be perfect. I used to be like that. Star Trek has helped me grow beyond that. Now I love wabi sabi. Star Trek's very wabi sabi, actually, when you think about it, which is a Japanese art of imperfection, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but so other than not liking Corby because he's a rival to Spock and Christine being with Spock, I think I think we're gonna see more of him. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Corby. I think we'll see him maybe sprinkled throughout the season. So it'll be interesting to see, how that evolves. But I also think in this episode it was cool that they were forced to team up in a way, like, they are rivals, but for the better of the crew that's under the spell by this Q character who turns out to be like a infant, like a very young, maybe adolescent Q, by Q standards, only 8,000, what do you say, 8,020 years old.
Yeah, 2020.
But so I thought that was clever that they got them to understand each other through this. It's like kind of a trope that you see a lot, like when there's romantic rivals, they get into a fight, but then they have to work together to like, because one is the best friend and the other one's, the romantic interest and stuff like that. So that trope was done, I thought, really well in this episode as well.
Yeah, the fact that Spock and Corby have to work together to sort of solve to solve the mystery of this episode is very, very, very. It was very smart of the writers to do that, and I do kind of like that they as men can put their problems behind and deal with and deal with the problem at hand. I still, this one act by Corby doesn't bring me over to his side, but I do appreciate that they can work together and they can put their feelings about Chapel aside.
Or it's because of their feelings for Chapel that
Yeah,
they
yeah,
they're
yeah,
able to work together.
yeah, that they can work
Spot.
together. Yeah.
I thought the funniest scene was when, there's after Spock punches Corby, and then Corby wakes up in bed next to him, and they're sitting and they're having a
Yeah.
conversation. They're having a conversation about, why was it that Roger was not affected, by the Q's spell, if you will? And he says, well, maybe my intellectual ability, my high intellectual abilities help to keep me immune. And Spock says, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't that it wasn't that. Like in
Yeah.
in a much colder way, in a nice cold dig. I was
Yeah.
cracking up. I thought that was a hilarious scene. There's just like
Yeah.
all kinds of moments sprinkled throughout like that made me like crack up. I loved it.
Yeah, I just, I was actually thinking when he said that in that scene that, the reason why he didn't get affected by the younger Q is because his intellect is much higher. And I'm like, dude, you in about maybe what, 10, maybe 15 or 10 years, you're going to go mad and you're going to become a robot. So you, my sir, are an idiot. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm just so anti Corby. Like, I can't stand that guy. Sorry.
It's interesting, normally in a Q episode, and we don't really know if this is a Q. We're
Oh, no.
assuming because
Oh, no.
John DeLance. Oh, you're sure? I mean, there's the
Yes,
snapping
I'm
and all
sure.
that and
I'm
stuff.
sure.
Like, okay, you're sure. I don't know. We'll have to talk about
I,
that because
I
you
am sure.
know. But I like how they introduce through the reflection in the beginning when he's the Vulcan bartender, how we see the Vulcan bartender in the reflection, and it was a great way because Rhys Darby, who's a brilliant actor, we haven't even talked about him yet, but who plays this character, this unknown Q character. He's just great. He's like perfectly suited to be this character. A lot of people were wondering if he was going to be Cybok, but then they revealed this image of him in the trailer, and since he's wearing a similar outfit to Trelane, that's when the Q speculation, or people thought that this might be Trelane. And I don't know. I don't think it's Trelane, although it's interesting because he's like 8,000 years old. He's young, but he looks older. Like, appearance wise, he looks like an older man. So it's interesting how, like, the true appearance or the preferred appearance of a Q could be very different from their like cosmic age or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, um, the Q continuum is really interesting too, and he does mention at the end that like I love that. That's another great dig at Corby. There's a lot of digs at Corby. I thought you, since you don't like the the character, you might have enjoyed that. But Spock's like, I have to know why, and he's like, because I saw him on the old homeworld digging up our relics, and I thought he looked too perfect. Like or whatever, and so I wanted he just
Look at
wanted
him. He
to
just want to
mess with
hit.
him,
Just want to
like
hit him.
he just wanted to mess with him, and that was like the
Yeah.
whole that was the whole
Yeah.
reason for this. So I thought that, and then Spock's like, that makes perfect sense, which is great humor as well. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I.
going, go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I actually for like half of this episode, I thought that it was Trelane. I thought it was like I thought that this was a updated version of Trelane, and he basically came aboard the ship because he kind of saw or was kind of aware somehow of Spock's longing, and he just wanted to do something happy for the guy. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
to, right,
but I don't think it's Trelane at all, because if it were Trelane, the speculation was that this would be an older version of Trelane. That's what I had thought, like a later
right.
version of Trelane, but it's
Mhm.
clearly not. It could be a younger Trelane, but I don't think Trelane gives any indication. I have to go back and watch the Squire of Gothos, but I don't think Trelane gives any indication that he had met any of them
Mhm.
before. So
No, no, he doesn't. If I'm not mistaken, he does not.
so we've seen different cues, so this is just a different cue. But now that we heard the voice of the cue that came to the father, basically, could
That
this
was so cool.
be could this be another adventure of baby Q from Voyager? Could this be Q's son and Q, like in different stages of their lifespan or whatever?
It's possible. It's possible, but for that, I will have to defer to a Star Trek fan who is much more versed in that. But it's completely possible. By the way, when I heard the voice of John Delancey, I like lost my mind. I'm like, oh my god, is that? It like took me a minute. Like, oh my god, that's John Delancey. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest like indicator that this entity in fact is a
Is a
Q.
Q.
And it's neat because we've seen Qs, we've seen different ways that they can manifest their power, and it makes sense that this would be Q's son, like the Q we know, because he keeps using the snap, to do things. Although I do
Right.
miss the flashes. Like I wish they still had the TNG style.
The
Whenever Q did
flashes.
his mischief, you would see a flash, but it is a lot. You don't really necessarily need it. And he doesn't do it in Picard, so only
No.
once when he transforms himself to an older version of himself
Yeah,
do we get
I
that effect.
yeah, I to be honest with you, I understand why you miss the flashes, but I think that this Q without the sort of flashes and just having the things happen like just like that makes this episode a little bit more wonky and a little bit weirder
Mhm,
because
mhm.
you're sitting in one environment and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what the hell just happened? So sorry.
Yeah,
So you're sitting in one environment and then all of a sudden something happens and you're like, whoa, how did this happen? It just makes it a little bit more immersive, I think, without the flashes.
yeah. The biggest so Q turns into the Vulcan, is the Vulcan, bartender in the beginning, but then later he becomes the Andorian wedding planner, and I love this character so much.
Dumb.
That whole scene with the rehearsal was so funny, and,
Yeah,
like, him
so good.
prancing around and just, like, being very, like, wedding plannery. It reminded me of Father of the do you remember Father of the Bride, the movie?
Yeah,
Have you ever seen
yeah,
it?
yeah.
He
With
reminded me a little bit of Franck,
yeah,
the wedding
the
pla
Martin Sheen, yeah.
yeah, Martin Short,
Um,
Martin Short.
Martin Short, sorry, not Martin,
Yeah.
Martin Short. Yeah, yeah, so good, so great.
Uh, I
And
can't believe,
the other
Roger Corby would sabotage,
so
Christine's mother's
saboteur.
flowers and or grandmother's flowers, I guess,
Yeah.
or whatever.
The other thing that I really, really enjoyed about this episode, I thought the set design was particularly good in this episode. Like I mean, we're gonna talk about it, but the whole wedding
That, like,
setup
central
was
stage, yeah, very
right,
cool
the
with
central
the
stage. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure that Chapel would necessarily wear copious amounts of green, but
Well, remember, this is Spock's fantasy in a way, so this
yeah,
is probably, like, Chapel how she would dress if it were up to like, in Spock's fantasy. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think she might be a little more
wear white.
traditional.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe human
yeah,
tradition,
yeah.
but,
Human white.
that white dress thing is only a small I used to well, I still do, so if anyone needs their wedding photograph, let me know, but being being a photographer, I've photographed my share of weddings, and there's all kinds of traditions, and it's pretty cool to see that, like, you don't just have to do the same that, like, what we the Christian wedding doesn't have to be
Right.
Judeo-Christian wedding doesn't have to be like a tradition. So maybe Vulcans dress in green during weddings. I think it's a little actually we saw like wasn't the ceremony in Amok Time gonna be the start of their wedding, right? Or I guess Vulcan weddings are could be wild. It's all I
Yeah.
guess. No, that one's
Yes.
a
Yes.
pun far, I forget. Whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
Vulcan weddings are probably wild, so but, like,
Yeah.
very reserved at the same time. Wild
Yeah.
and reserved at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a Vulcan.
hmm No, and the other thing that I really liked about this, I mean, my favorite section of the episode is in the third act when Spock is basically trying to jolt Chapel into realizing that this is quote unquote an illusion, and the speech that he gives her just is so heartfelt and it comes from his soul and his and his true feelings about her, and it just made me cry that they're not gonna that this actually wasn't their wedding. It was such a good speech.
It's very sweet, but you did get to see what it could have been like. There's a
That
version
is
of it, I
true.
guess, that we got to see, so it's kinda
Yeah.
satisfying in that way. I think that, this whole foray into the like going deep into the Nurse Chapel Spock relationship is very interesting, and it certainly adds like, a unique kind of it changes the tone in which now when I watch TOS, I certainly kind of remember these things and like think about how they are acting with each other, and it just kind of like it's a very interesting, thing to a layer, if you will, to add to those characters. But it is the thing about prequels is that like none of this really kind of like thrills me in a sense because I know already the outcome, so I don't like while I enjoyed this episode for all that, uh overall the romance between Spock and Christine, and really Spock with anyone isn't as satisfying because I know that Spock doesn't really end up with anyone. He kind of off screen ends up with Savick, I guess was the closest thing. But he definitely doesn't have a conventional like his father who got married and like, had a wife. Spock, as far as we know, never did that. Although he did have a child, again, off screen, he did have a child with Savick. So there's that whole thing. But, he doesn't follow the traditional Vulcan or human experience. So I don't know. Uh, beyond the humor, I think I'm just like, oh, I could take it or leave it, but it is fun. I think for a younger audience, especially like folks who are, experiencing romance for the first time, it's nice to see themselves reflected, or even like middle-aged audience. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm just becoming an old fuddy-duddy here.
Yeah, I mean, look,
But the
I
speech
mean,
was certainly beautiful, and I thought that, yeah, I was touched by it too. It was very sweet.
yeah, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from, by saying that, the fact that Strange New Worlds is a prequel, the fact that the hardcore Trek fans know that none of this is going to amount to anything. But I think the main thing that the Chapel and Spock sort of, will they, won't they thing in Strange New Worlds is doing is, to move to your point, it's layering the Chapel and Spock relationship. So when you meet them in TOS, you understand all you have all the past history between them, so you can understand why they're so almost like standoffish in TOS. They're very, 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 the way that Nimoy plays Spock in TOS is very, very cold and a matter of fact. So there's just there's just history
Well, and
in
then
between them. But
there's that
right,
one scene in, is it The Naked Time or whenever when Nurse Chapel kind of, lets her guard down,
yeah,
and he kind of lets his guard down a little bit too.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
we
think it's
do
an
definitely there's
interesting.
definitely like you're absolutely right, like but it is I guess they just chose to be professional or something, so maybe Strange New Worlds will kinda lead us into how they become that way. I mean,
Yeah,
Christine's gonna lose. That's the other thing is, like, the Roger Corby stuff is fun, but to me, it's
she's
kind
gonna
of
lose that
interesting
idiot
because
too.
she's gonna lose him, and so we might see how she loses Roger Corby to, we might see the lead up to those events, who knows? I mean,
Yeah,
we already know now that Strange New Worlds is gonna be, 5 seasons, so there's a lot of episodes between here and there. I think it was, like, 20 something episodes between here and there where we get to explore these things. But I also wondered if I just kind of like, to me, when it comes to like romance in Star Trek, like it sometimes it works, but I think on the whole, it's not what the show is strongest at. Like, and I think that
yeah.
in Strange New Worlds, the relationship that I'm enjoying or following the most is Battelle and Pike. I think that's the one that is the most intriguing to me,
Mm.
just because it's new. I guess it's kind of like one that we don't know the outcome of exactly. We know somewhat what's going to happen with Pike and Vina later on, but we don't know right now what's going to happen between Pike and Battelle. How are they going to, you know, how's that going to turn out? So
Yeah,
certainly no
yeah.
wedding bells though for them either.
No, no, no. No, I think I think that you're right. I think that Star Trek does do romance okay, but Star Trek is about exploration and about visiting strange new planets and meeting new species and learning how to coexist with one another, despite
Yeah,
the disagreements that you could have with the species here or there. But I do like that. specifically, Kurtzman Trek has sort of leaned into the romantic side of Star Trek a little bit more than Berman Trek did.
Yeah, that's for sure. Uh, I want to talk about two more things. One was Sam Kirk was great in that scene in the science lab where he's Spock's trying to insult him, and what does he say? Something like "and no one likes your mustache" or something
Yeah,
like that. And
I
you
can
think
relate
he's
with that.
about to I like your mustache. It looks good,
Thank,
actually.
thank
You look
you,
great. I
thank
have
you.
to shave. I've grown my beard
You
again,
look
and
okay.
it's,
You look
but
okay.
it's too hot. It's too hot for the beard.
It's too
Not
hot
that
for
not
you.
that the beard's too hot. It's just too hot outside for the beard. I like to keep it shorn. Although
Be
I do
cool.
notice, like over the years, if you watch Starfleet Sohail, if you go back to watch our first episode where I talk about Encounter at Farpoint, there's like hardly any grays in my beard, and now my
It's all
beard is
grace.
all gray. So it's crazy. I've been doing this for a long time. I almost 10
Yeah,
years. It's crazy, but
crazy.
that was a fun scene. And I can never get enough of Sam Kirk. I'm so glad they put this character on the Enterprise, uh and that we get to experience Dan Jeanette playing him because he's really great as him. But then the other scene that I really liked was at the bachelor party. There were a lot of gags there too that were really funny. But like Scotty at first, he's like, this is young Scotty, like barely out of the academy, I guess, and um he's like, "Oh, I hardly drink," but then he tries the Vulcan food, and then he's like, "Give me more of that." He
More.
needs the whiskey, like, to help him with it. Could this be the moment that Scotty goes down the path of drinking? Like,
I
do
would
we
listen.
just
Yeah,
get
I would.
the
It would be so funny if the thing that sort of moved in towards drinking is trying to eat Vulcan food. Like that would be that would be the funniest thing ever if that led to him becoming, the guy that we all know and love
Right.
and the happy drinker
Well,
that he is.
and to be fair to Scotty, he's not, like, always drinking or anything like that. It's just that one episode where he drinks that guy under the table.
Yeah, he
That
does.
gives and maybe a couple. I think maybe a couple of other episodes, but Scotty's I just wanna make it clear, Scotty should you shouldn't be knowing Scotty as a drunkard. He's by no means a drunkard. He definitely
Oh.
sober when he's flying the ship, when he's engineering the ship, we hope.
No, I know. No, yeah, no, I would. Yeah, no,
It
I
would
would
be
call.
interesting though if they if they pursued that, like, maybe, like, the rest of the season, we see Scotty have, like, an alcoholic problem, and he has to, like
That's funny.
No, I don't think that's good.
No, but I do want to say that I think that Scotty is a responsible drinker.
Yes,
Um,
I agree. He
I
definitely
I
is.
I I do
That
not think
was
that he's an
part of his
alcoholic.
duty, that one scene in TOS where he had to where he had to drink that guy under the table.
Right? Yeah.
But
No, but
but I still thought it was funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Seeing Spock's bachelor party, it was funny and it was cool to see Pike trying to be the best first man that he could, even though that with him under the spell and everything. It was just a cool scene to see the guys together, just relaxing, chilling, and drinking. It was fun.
Absolutely. We already talked about the wedding scene itself. I think the only other gag there that was funny was turning Corby into like a bulldog.
Well,
That
that was cool.
was
That was
cute.
cool.
That was funny, and she's like, Chapel stands in front front of him. He was getting a little crazy there at the end, the cue, like, "You're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die," this whole
Yeah.
thing, but you're not gonna die because I like the way it's like it's so funny.
uh, yeah. No, I think I think once
Papa Q
everybody
came
sort of
at the right time.
yeah once everybody sort of clued into what was happening, the younger Q really like had like a mini temper tantrum. And that's when he was like, "You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're not gonna die because you look too pretty." Um, yeah. So I mean, it was
Uh,
it was a nice ending to the whole episode.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that like I also I'm of two minds to this because what was the day in Star Trek Picard season 3? That was Federation Day also, or something else? That was something else, right?
It
Frontier
was
Day.
no,
That was
no,
Frontier
it's
Day. It's
Frontier
totally
Day.
different. So that was like celebrating, I guess, the launch of the NX-01 or something like that. I'm not sure.
No,
I don't remember.
Frontier Day was,
Yeah, I think it was
celebrating
the
the
launch
launch
of
of the NX-01.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So
right.
we saw a depiction of Frontier Day and now we saw Federation Day being celebrated on Strange New Worlds. I wish we could have seen more of Federation Day because while it was like nice, like it was funny and everything, but like I thought it would have been neat if we saw like maybe at that point the episode like kind of pulled back or gave us a wider, picture of Federation Day and stuff like that. And maybe
You know
that would be like my only thing is I wish there was a little bit more Federation Day stuff in the episode.
we might get another episode around Federation Day or around another holiday within the Federation, so you might get your wish eventually.
Oh yeah, was there? Did I miss something? I don't remember. Or you just
No,
mean
no,
in general, like as
no,
a?
no, 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 in general, I haven't seen any previews about what episodes are gonna come, but I'm just
Oh,
saying.
okay.
I mean, hey, look, I wanted a wedding in Discovery, and I kinda got it, but now I got a wedding.
You got another wedding. You love weddings, Marcel. It's
I
very
love
sentimental.
weddings.
It's very cute.
Free
Very
drinks.
cute.
Yeah,
The episode ends lightheartedly, but then there's a little tiny epilogue with Ortega's with Erica back in the she leaves kind of when everyone starts dancing to "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go." By the way,
that's
that
really
was a great
cool.
that was a great touch.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so she gets uncomfortable with the situation. Pike kind of notices and she goes off and then we see her getting getting something off her chest in the with the punching bag and then she turns around and we see that she's still traumatized by her encounter, which is natural. I mean, it was pretty freaking crazy encounter, but
It was awful.
with her encounter with the Gorn. Uh I liked the way they did it. I'm not too happy about more Gorn stuff because to me it's just like whatever. So I don't know if we're gonna necessarily see more Gorn until TOS because they seem to have put them into the cybernative, state prematurely. So I doubt we'll see more Gorn. But I guess we've been asking for more Ortegas or more Tegas, and so maybe they're gonna focus on her recovery from that for maybe a few more episodes in the season. What do you think?
No, I think we're gonna get a full, episode, I think we're gonna get a full arc of Erica dealing with PTSD
Yeah,
from what happened with the Gorn. Listen, like you, I'm kind of tired of the Gorn, but I don't think that we're gonna get any more Gorn stuff. The only Gorn stuff that we're gonna get is the Gorn stuff in Erica's head,
right. Or like related
and
to
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and her dealing with that. I don't think that we're gonna what
I mean, there's a
it
lot of characters that are going to be going through it. And Laan, we already had her, last season, or
right, right.
or in season 1, I guess. No, yeah, last
Mhm.
season, I guess. Like that, and now Erica's certainly affected, and Battelle might have some,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
some like problems too with her trauma. So yeah, I think we are going to see that. It's very interesting.
Mhm. But in reference to where the season could go and who the ultimately big bad could be, I have no idea.
If there even is gonna be a big bad, maybe it's a
Right.
different structure this season. We'll see. We'll
Maybe it
see how
is.
it
Maybe
goes.
it is.
So far, I mean, other than the continuation from last season, this is very episodic. Like, other than a few character moments that are being hinted at being, it was definitely like kind of, that happy medium between serialized and episodic. I would say, there's definitely some
Right.
things being presented that we know we're gonna follow, but
Mhm.
the episode kind of sits on its own as well. So yeah, very good.
It does. It totally, totally does.
It's time. Do you have any closing thoughts, Marcelo?
Uh, the only thing I will say about this episode is again, I loved all the dancing sequences between Spock and Laan. They were just they did such a good job. Like it was that was so cool to see. I was like, that was really fun.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up for me is that the episode was very fun to watch. I found
Yeah.
myself laughing a lot. I found myself smiling. Uh, and it was just a lighthearted but also very Trekky, steeped in Trek, if you will. Lighthearted but
Yeah.
steeped in Trek is the way to, I guess, put it. I think that Rhys Darby was great. I hope we see the character again. It's interesting. Usually the Q, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but usually the Q kind of like makes themselves known and like their powers. But this time we didn't. He was just kind of like sneaky. But now that he's been revealed, maybe we'll get him again. Uh, if we don't, though, I'm okay with it because I don't necessarily think that we need more more Q. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's Q's got a lot of play in Star Trek, and so I could take it or leave it. I certainly think if the story is worth it, that it would be really delightful to see Rhys Darby again. But again, I just want to say I really hope this season we get Cybok somehow. I'm like
You're
jonesing
obsessed
for
with
Cybok.
Cybok.
I'm obsessed with Cybok ever since they teased us. I am so obsessed with Cybok. So I
Yeah.
really hope we get more Cybok. But
Um,
yeah, I guess overall I would give this episode. I think I'm going to give this episode an 8.
I'm actually gonna go one higher than you. I'm gonna give this episode a
Oh
9. And
wow.
the only reason why I don't give it a 10, the only reason, there's only one. Roger Corby. I don't like Roger Corby.
So wow, it would have been a 10er if it weren't
Yeah.
for Roger
If
Corby.
Roger Corby was not in this episode, 10s across the board.
Well, very good. Marcelo, thank you so much for joining me. Audience, thanks for sticking with us in the chat. I hope it was a fun chat with future versions of me, at least. I don't know if future Marcelo is there, but he's there in spirit. Please like, share, and subscribe, and or the other order: subscribe, like, share. Maybe that's a better order. I don't know which it is. And we'll see you guys next week for more fun. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. Oh, I didn't hit the button. There we go.